This is a response video to a very, very old video. About a year ago, it looks like. Daniel Parkin did a video about people that had very good in-ring chemistry with each other. I did watch the video recently, again, since I had watched it before, but I rediscovered it, and I felt that since I had been away, not doing videos for a long time, that I would come back and I would do this. Try to give everybody some matches to go watch and check out. Examples of, people that had great in-ring chemistry with each other, things that I found very exciting, and hopefully you would too. Hopefully you guys like this video. I see no reason that you wouldn't. Just sharing some information. So for right now, what I'm going to do is put on my thinking cap, and we're going to go ahead and do this. So first thing that comes to mind, since I was such a big Randy Savage fan and always will be, I'm going to go with Savage and Flair. They had a lot of matches over the years, but they always seemed to have very good in-ring chemistry. The numerous times they fought. In particular, I liked their match, Bash at the Beach in WCW. That was a really good one for me. I liked the involvement that they had with Elizabeth turning on Macho Man a few times. The involvement that she played in the storyline. And just the general, doing moves with each other, the trust that they had with each other. It was a good day. So, any match really that they had was, it was going to be a decent match, but overall, you can find, like WrestleMania 8, for instance, when Savage recaptured the title, great match. And there's lots of feel-good moments over the years when they did battle too. So, hit or miss, can't go wrong with those two. One of my favorite matches of all time, moving on to the next couple here, Chris Jericho and Dean Malenko. Now, a lot of people probably don't even know about this because a lot of people probably never even saw WCW. But Slamboree 1998, Malenko had some time off, and there had been a big storyline with Jericho, making fun of Dean Malenko, saying that he was the man of 1,004 holds, basically trying to bury him. They brought Malenko back under a mask. He had come back under the moniker of Ciclope, wrestling a lucha style as a masked wrestler, and then won a battle royale in order to qualify to fight Jericho for the title. Jericho came to the ring and essentially, was very happy that he was going to get to fight this no-name guy. And when Dean Malenko unmasked and unveiled that it was himself in the ring, the crowd popped like I've never heard them pop before. And it was such a great match. And, there were a few kind of like not perfect spots, and the match was a little bit sloppy. But the emotion was there, and the in-ring chemistry was definitely there. And it was such a feel-good moment when Malenko came back and whipped his ass. It was Slamboree. It was 1998. Jericho versus Malenko. If you've never seen that match, then you've never seen one of probably, in my opinion, one of the 10 best feel-good moments in wrestling history, at least for me. Everybody else has their own list. You don't have to go by what I say. It's not gospel. I'm not on here trying to influence anybody else to think the way that I think, brother. Yeah, because that's the right way to do it. That's the only way you can think. I'm not trying to do that. I just want to share some information with you guys. But definitely Jericho and Malenko had it going on. Going back within my delving of the Randy Savage collection, because, he worked well with everyone. Randy Savage and Diamond Dallas Page. When I got thinking about around 1998, 97, 98, Savage and Diamond Dallas Page really took it to the next level. And I don't remember exactly what year it was, but I believe it was the Halloween Havoc Falls Count Anywhere match. Those two put on the hell of a show, and they had such good in-ring chemistry working with each other. It was a pleasure to watch them throughout that entire feud. Savage brought up the fact that Kimberly was in Playboy, said that he wanted to be Diamond Dallas Page. Was throwing his name out, pretty much under the bus. Essentially made Diamond Dallas Page a main event guy during that whole feud. Made him look like $1 million. Savage, ended up eating, the loss when it was right. DDP looked like gold from the time that feud started until it ended. And a quick bit of trivia is when Diamond Dallas Page captured his first WCW title, Savage was right there to count the 1, 2, 3 for him in that match. So, it came full circle, and I was so glad to see it when I saw it. It was another great rivalry, and such great in-ring chemistry from these two guys that could go out there and work like hell. And also two guys that just fucking knew the psychology, knew when to call it quits, knew when to pump up the crowd, knew when to go fight in the crowd. Just had the right kind of match at the right kind of time in the history of, the wrestling business. So go check that out. I got 9 more to go, so I'm going to try not to let this drone on for an hour. The next thing I have is Booker T and Chris Benoit. Back in WCW, they had like a best of 7 or 8 series over the U.S. title. And this was over a mid-card belt that really, it made this belt look like it was the fucking world title at that point. And both of these guys went out there night after night on Nitro. And I even think that their series went on to Thunder at this point, because I think that show was out then. I might be mixing this up. Guys, feel free to correct me in the comments below. I don't know who all is watching this or not, to be honest. But, if you saw this series, you know exactly what I'm talking about. These guys hooked up again later in WWE. And, their matches were always really great. These were two guys that could go out there and work like fucking hell. And they both ended up being world champions, not only for WCW, but for WWE on top of it. So, hats off to them. I know everybody gives Benoit shit for being a murderer. So do I. I'm never going to forgive him for that. But when you talk about people that had great in-ring chemistry, you can't fucking deny that. It's just a fact. You know what I mean? So, go back and watch the match and enjoy it. You don't have to be a fucking Benoit fan necessarily and be like, oh, great, he was such awesome, kiss his ass. He's dead. Face it. But, for people out there like Brandon, watches my channel a lot, he is a Benoit fan. And, it deserves its just credibility. And the guy could fucking go out there and wrestle. And, for people that are big Benoit fans, this is one of the things that they can throw in your face and say, look, this is my proof. In any court of law, according to any wrestling jury, that shit would hold up, period. Hands down. One of the best, best of series matches I've ever seen. Now we're going to go to something a little bit more recent. This is jumping all over, by the way. This doesn't exactly follow any kind of formula. AJ Styles and Sting. When they've fought in the past, they've had great matches. I just wanted to bring that up. There's not a specific time period I'm looking at, but whenever those two guys have gotten in the ring with each other, it's been good. So, hats off to them. This next one I remember pretty well. Ted DiBiase and Dusty Rhodes. If I remember correctly, Dusty Rhodes was trying to break in his younger son, Goldust, into the business, and Ted DiBiase was the guy to get him over. They did numerous tag matches between Virgil and the $1 Million Man and Dusty and his son there. They had the Ken Dusty Rhodes' son last 10 or 15 minutes on Saturday Night Main Event against the $1 Million Man. They had great in-ring chemistry. They worked really well. And eventually Dusty Rhodes got his hands on DiBiase. The whole thing was that DiBiase's assistant Virgil was named after Dusty Rhodes. His real name is Virgil in real life. DiBiase had a lot of respect for Dusty Rhodes, and it was always Vince McMahon's idea to bury Dusty Rhodes in the bus because he came from another federation. He wasn't a WWE-made guy, and he just wanted to bury the shit out of him. But people loved him no matter how many polka dot suits you want to dress him up in, no matter how many weird shit gimmicks you want to give him, especially with that one chick from WrestleMania 6, Sapphire, that's her name. How could I forget that? It was a mixed tag with Savage. Sorry, I didn't get much sleep last night. But yeah, totally totally great in-ring chemistry, and you would expect it from fucking $1 Million Man and from the American Dream. So go check out everything that they ever did together. You won't be any worse off for it. Two other guys from around that same time period you're going to want to check out. Maybe this was a few years after, actually. This was around WrestleMania 7. Jake the Snake Roberts and Rick the Model Martel blindfold match. If you're going to have a blindfold match where you can't see, how the fuck are you going to do anything without having great in-ring chemistry with each other? The promos and everything leading up to this match was awesome. You know, the fallout in between, the after effects, everything that these guys did during that time period was amazing to me. You know, I always liked Jake the Snake. Essentially, he had great in-ring chemistry with everyone, but I remember that a lot growing up, with the arrogance in the eyes and the whole blindness angle, and it really stuck with me, so it just made me want to put it on that list. It was something that wasn't brought up in Daniel Parkin's video, so that's something to check out. While I was on that kick, I went through my little history file, because it made me think of guys that were in the mid-card for a while, and I came up with Tito Santana and Mr. Perfect. Back around 1990, when Mr. Perfect was the Intercontinental Champion after Ultimate Warrior had vacated the title, you know, because he wanted the big one from Hogan, WrestleMania 6. It's a little history lesson for anybody else out there. Tito Santana and Mr. Perfect had a rivalry for a while. Tito Santana was a former Intercontinental Champion. Just go watch the damn matches. I don't need to say any more. These two guys worked the shit. You know, they treated that Intercontinental title like it was the world title. Bobby the Brain Heenan played, you know, instrumentally in these matches, but they didn't even need him because these two were so good at what they did. Tito Santana would clothesline Mr. Perfect, and he would flip right at his fucking boots, you know, over, backwards, left, right, A-B start. Just terrific. Phenomenal in-ring talents with each other. Always knew what the other guy was thinking. Yeah, it was just, I always enjoyed watching those guys, so check that out. 1, 2, 3. I think I got 4 left. Next is more modern in-ring work between Cody Rhodes and Rey Mysterio. Obviously, the match I'm thinking of is the one at WrestleMania that really kind of launched Cody Rhodes, but these guys have worked together, you know, beyond that, and while every match wasn't necessarily a 5-star classic, you could tell that they at least had the in-ring chemistry down. You know, to put on that great show that they did at WrestleMania, you know, the one that really made Cody Rhodes and was a defining victory, you're going to need in-ring chemistry. So these guys had a good program with each other. I'm glad that it did what it did for Rhodes. I wish he was still kind of on that high horse because I enjoyed watching him, but go check that out. You know, it was from the past 2 years here, and you know, he's a lot better for it now. So kudos to Mysterio too for putting him over. This one goes back right to the past. I put this on the list. I was just, I guess I was in golden era mode. The Rockers tag team, Shawn Michaels, Marty Jannetty versus the Brainbusters, Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard. This was such a great program when, you know, I saw it going on. I believe this was at Madison Square Garden, if I remember correctly. I was watching on YouTube before. Just go check the damn match out. This was amazing. I think they hooked up a few times. They might have done this at a pay-per-view. I don't really remember. The one thing I watched, I'm pretty sure it was at Madison Square Garden. Just go check it out. These guys were doing all sorts of, you know, just tandem tag team moves. The Rockers were. The Brainbusters were doing phenomenal heel tactics with each other. Everybody knew what the other guy was thinking. I mean, I don't know if they literally rehearsed it beforehand or not, but I think, like, in each other's heads, they knew what the other guy was thinking, and it was just smooth. It was awesome. Bobby Heenan was out there, another reason to go watch this match. Not that they really needed him again, but it's just antics on top of antics. You will laugh your ass off, and it was just a feel-good match. So go ahead and check that out. I got 2 left. The next one I wanted to bring up was Hulk Hogan and The Rock. You know, when you talk about great in-ring chemistry, yeah, like, best 20 matches of all time, and dare I say, some of the best WrestleMania moments of all time. Hulk Hogan and The Rock would be, like, even in my top 5 best WrestleMania matches, like, moments ever. When Rock faced off against Hulk Hogan and the crowd was, like, just as unglued as they were, that was that to me was what wrestling and wrestling fans were all about. So please go watch that. I think it was WrestleMania 18, I want to say. I think I'm right, yeah. And now that we're at the end of this list, and dare I say that, this video is a lot shorter than they normally go for me. It's about half as long. I want to cut it short, so I'm not going to get into too much detail, but this last little feud, and people might look at me and be like, oh my god, how could you say that? You don't even like this one guy. I say it because they did have great in-ring chemistry, and as biased as I might be, and as much as I might want this one guy to fall off the face of the earth, or get hit by a Mack truck, he did actually put Rhodes over, and Rhodes was a lot better for it, and they actually really did look good in the ring together, and I almost hope that they'll hook up down the road at some point and bring the best out of each other again, and that's Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes in their program that they had before Survivor Series of 2011. Before it turned into Barrett and Orton, which really didn't go over as well as I thought that was going to. But yeah, the whole Rhodes and Orton thing, really, I enjoyed the shit out of that, and I thought that I was afraid, though, because I thought that Orton was going to squash him again like he did at fucking WrestleMania when it was DiBiase and Rhodes, the whole legacy breaking off thing. But it didn't. It really worked out well for Rhodes at that time, and the Intercontinental Championship looked all the better for it, and that was back when I thought WWE knew what the fuck they were doing. So, go back and watch that match, too. That was a good match between those guys, and I didn't even mind Orton coming out, on top at the end of it because of all the work that he had actually put into that feud. So that's my list. And this is going to be a response video, obviously, to Daniel Parkin. So I'm sure he can comment on it and say whatever he needs to say. But if you guys have, favorite little rivalries and favorite little great guys that have really good in-ring chemistry that neither he nor I have brought up, comment it down below. Make your own videos. And let's just start some positive fucking chatter out there, because all day long I've been on the forums on Facebook, and it's been like, oh, WWE sucks, WWE sucks, WWE sucks. And then the only glistening gem has been that, Chavo Guerrero and a bunch of other people are jumping to TNA. And I've been like, as much as I'm a big fan of TNA, and as much as I'm excited for TNA, I don't want the internet to turn into a bunch of TNA fanboys just being like, oh, WWE blows and TNA is the only thing to watch now. I want to see all wrestling get better, and that's why I make these videos. I don't make these videos just to blow off steam because it's a cool thing to do. I make these videos because I've been watching wrestling for 25 years. Do whatever you want to do. Comment, rate, whatever. If you're not already subscribed and you don't want to do it, I'm not going to be any butthurt about it. So you make the decision. Thanks again for watching, and live from my mother's basement, I've been John, your host, your guy that does all the talking. Now it's time for you guys to do the talking. I'm going to shut up. I'm going to go eat Doritos. Peace.